What's going on, guys? This is Jason of Auglitical. I swim through politics so you don't drown too. I'm just a man trying to bring common sense in a world where common sense isn't so common. So, after getting their asses kicked over and over and over again because they decided to no longer listen to men whatsoever and dictate and demand what men should do while demeaning them, demoralizing them, and making them feel lesser than, Dems are now taking a new approach, they claim, in which they're trying to gain back the male's, I don't know, support. Let's look at how that's going to go for them.
Olivia writes a Substack, which probably, statistically speaking, like 89% of y'all read already. But Olivia,
Shorty is massive. Okay.
I want you to talk about that Substack, and I also want you to talk about one of the newer articles that you wrote about why men drifted right in the previous election. I consider myself a resident expert on this because I am a man, so I feel like we could have an interesting conversation on the conclusions you reached in that article.
Yeah, so my Substack it's called A New Perspective, oliviajuliana.substack.com, and we're actually very close to hitting 100,000 subscribers on Substack. I'm very excited. But I write a lot about politics, and I hate that all these newsletters are the same. There's so many Substacks that you get on, and they're all telling you the same stuff. I don't want to do that. I want to give you a new perspective on the political issues that are going on. And so I keep seeing people talk about young men in the 2020 cycle or in the 2024 cycle, and they keep saying like, well, it's because like they're not getting laid enough and they feel judged, and or alternatively, well, they're just racist and they hate women. So like it's really, I see these takes coming out from both sides of the party wing, I would say, and I just think that all of that is wrong. I think all of it is wrong.
But it's not all wrong. I mean, one of those things is wrong. Now, so in terms of men are not getting laid enough, that's actually true. And men are decreasingly, they're not only just not getting laid, they're not even socializing with women anymore because they're being told that they're bad for existing. And it goes across the board. It's not just white men that are suffering from this, but they do suffer from this. They suffer from it so much that they're starting to believe in conspiracies like the white replacement theory, which, and yes, it is kind of true because your kinds are not just Democrats, but Republicans are down with bringing in so many goddamn immigrants and illegals and being fine with it and claiming that they care about it at some point. They're declining in their birth rates. They're not dating. They're getting shafted in the dating scene. They're getting shafted in divorces. They're getting completely fucking destroyed. So they're not having children. They're not having sex. You had, what was it? I think men up until the age of 25 are not even talking to women anymore. And then on the other side, you have women that are just consistently being told that they're princesses, they're good enough and perfect enough just by default while you're sitting there, you're demonizing men. And again, this is men across the board. So that's one thing which is kind of true. The thing about all men hating women, eventually men are gonna be resentful. I mean, shit, women are resentful. Women are resentful of men because they can't break them the way that they want to break them, but they want to be around them. I forgot the other shit that she said, and I'm gonna just keep going because I mean, it's not that. She said three things. I covered one. The other thing was bullshit, but okay.
And so I wrote this piece called "The Politics of Getting Laid and Preachy Females," and I really dive in.
I don't think this person should be talking about getting laid. With all respect, I could only imagine the type of fucking mental gymnastics that she's doing to get laid, tricking. And don't get me wrong, she probably has a much higher chance than the average dude, which is crazy, right? She has a higher chance just by being female of getting laid, especially in the party that she's in. She could probably guilt trip people into getting laid.
To what I actually perceive it to be, and shocker, it's all economic anxiety. I think the Democrats have a really bad problem of every time we message to young men, we frame it in a way that is wrapped up in the same principles that we critique. We critique the patriarchy. We critique the
Why is it
way
zooming
that
in?
men have higher hierarchy and power structures, and then we message to them as if not only is that the reality, but that they have to continue to be like that. So the example I use in the article is the issue of abortion. When we message to young men on abortion, or men in general, we do it from the position of, well, real men protect women. And if you care about the women in your life, you should be pro choice. And that might be true. That is true.
First and foremost, one of the biggest mistakes you can do, and a lot of men are noticing this, is when a woman sits there and says a real man. If she knew what a real man was, she wouldn't be coming to you with that bullshit because she would be able to find a real man. The biggest problem is that all men are not like that, and all men are not falling for that bullshit. If a woman ever opens up with a real man, she is trying to emotionally manipulate you. The whole deal with abortion, it is disgusting. Realistically, you guys have that in the bag. Democrats have that in the bag. Stupid women, and I'm going to call it straight up, stupid women are always going to go for abortion. More power, more cards in their deck, they're always going to go for abortion. And mind you, I am a person who is not against or for abortion. I just bet not find your ratchet ass twerking in the street talking about this and talk about this as a handmaid's tale, and in the same breath you're twerking half naked in the fucking street. It makes absolutely no sense to me. Having an abortion should be something, like I said, my stance has always been, if you're gonna go have an abortion, I think every woman should have the right. Every woman should have the right. Every woman should have access to having a freebie. Most people are stupid. Most young kids, most young guys are busting their nuts. Girls are being freaky, damn near borderline raping these dudes that they like, not giving them a chance. And again, women are harsh, dog. And I'm just, again, reflecting on my past. Them girls borderline rape dudes. If you know, you know. When they sat there and they said, "Oh, you don't want to do this," tell a girl no when it comes down to sex. Watch how quick she flips on you. Watch how quick you better be ready. So, and again, with this, you got young people, you got people making mistakes when they're having sex. They're not using condoms, they're not wrapping up, they're doing all of this shit. Everybody makes mistakes. Fine, go ahead. It should not be celebrated. And if you're a person who's consistently doing dangerous having children, and you have no way to financially provide for these people, and you're just consistently doing it, there is a fucking problem. That's how I look at it. That's how I always looked at it. Again, I'm not for or against abortion. I just don't want to sit there and hear people claim moral superiority over it. Support superiority over it. It's fucking weird.
True. But we don't come at it from the approach of this is the reality that young men face about that issue. Because it's entirely possible that a young woman in college gets pregnant unexpectedly, and that could upend her life if she doesn't have access to abortion care. But it's also entirely true that the young guy who gets her pregnant, now he's on the hook to not only take care of this child that could be him, that could be coming into the world, but also to take care now of the mother of his child. And I think that it would be so much easier if we just understood that the problems we're having with young men shifting to the right, it's not because they don't agree with us on the policy. They do agree with us on the policy. It's because they feel.
No, the fuck they don't. Men don't agree with Democrats' policies because Democrats' policies is all for women. And then on top of that, it's all for minorities. And then on top of that, it's all for fucking LGBT types. It's all for whoever they can gain from empathy the fucking most. Why would men be for a movement that's like anti-men? And it's not to sit there and say it should be all men and no women. No one's sitting there saying this. But again, why men are not. Men don't. First and foremost, most men don't even give a shit about politics. They end up getting dragged into politics, but they don't give a shit about politics. You know where your fucking voters lie. It's emotional fucking women, a lot of them being white, or your new Marxists, and then you also got a bunch of people being brought over here who you're tricking into voting in your favor. But no, they don't fucking. Why would men agree with the Democrat side when they literally made commercials sitting there talking about some "I'm a real man," and they had all of these Democrat fucking not cosplays, these Democrat actors. A lot of them gay. A lot. One guy sat there talking about "I'm a farmer," and he's the same size as this fucking woman. He looks so fucking huge. Like, I'm a big guy. This motherfucker was massive. He looked like as though he had to pick up his like he's sitting there talking about he repairs cars, right? And he literally shaped like an egg, and he's in the back of a fucking 4 by I don't know what it is, one of them pickup trucks, right? And the fucking doors down. It looked like this motherfucker had to pick up his gut. He would have to pick up his gut and pick it up and drop that bitch on the 4 by 4 and flatten both tires in the back, talking about some I'm a real man. And these are the commercials, and we could see through it as clear as fucking day. No, man, most men don't give a shit about politics, and the ones that do wake up to politics, they either hard stay away from the fucking left, but they keep their head down because they're still trying to fuck these girls, not trying to offend nobody, and they just want to live their lives. It's crazy.
Like, we don't understand the struggles they're facing, the actual struggles, not the perceived struggles of the masculinity crisis or whatever it is, the actual struggles.
Well, the perceived struggles, not they we don't understand the actual struggles they face. Oh no, not the masculinity struggle, because that's something that's we should continue to villainize and demonize that. Fuck masculinity being in lack. That's what we want. We want our men weak, but we need them to get on our side.
And instead, we just kind of want to blame them for all of our problems.
Right. I think there's a lot of that I just fully agree with. I mean, we just don't message to men, right? As like we don't message in a way that resonates to men. Something that you kind of responded to that I've seen a lot is, well, the reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? It's like men want to have sex and like own women.
Hold on, I need to go back because this is exactly what the fuck I'm talking about.
We don't understand the struggles they're facing, the actual struggles, not the perceived struggles of the masculinity crisis or whatever it is, the actual struggles. And instead, we just kind of want to blame them for all of our problems.
Right. I think there's a lot of that I just fully agree with. I mean, we just don't message to men, right? As like we don't message in a way that resonates to men. Something that you kind of responded to that I've seen a lot is, well, the reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? It's like men want to have sex and like own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody, and Republicans say you get to do that, and then Democrats can't say that, so we just lost men, it's over, right? Like, what are you?
These fucking people don't want to gain these people back. They want to manipulate them and guilt trip them. They want to find a way that it works for them to sit there and continue to do exactly what the fuck they've been doing and still have these people on their side. All of that bullshit that she just said that was wrong, and he interpretates it is men just want to have sex, which, yeah, so do fucking women, but men just want bad things. This is what this soy boy, and you can hear it in his voice and his mannerisms because he can't hide it. Men just want bad things, and we don't do that, and that's why the Republicans win. Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? Look, it's always the eyes. Look at his fucking eyes. These are the people who the Democrat Party listens to and are willing to drop 2 million, $20 million to try to reach out to young men when their whole thing right now, you just heard it. They just want bad things to happen and to oppress people. Again, they don't give a fuck about men whatsoever. But they want to. Is you guys remember when Obama came out? This fucking tether came out. A tether is a person who's not black but want to sit there and they pretend to be black when it benefits them. And he came out and he said black men failed the Democratic parties. They failed Kamala Harris, and he started trying to guilt trip black men, and the black men that were there, of course, supported Obama, and he sat there and he trashed them. I've always found it funny when you have groups that sit there and they pretend that they own a whole demographic of people just by existing. I've seen this. I think just recently I saw this with Jews on X. they something happened when you got crazy ass Kanye West or Yee, because Kanye West is a completely different person in my eyes. And then you got Yee, this fucking weird fascist weirdo who brain dumb broke some more, I guess. And he's going around with his song called Hell Hitler or whatever like that. You got a bunch of people that he's paid to go around saying that song. They probably don't believe that shit, but they getting paid. You'd be surprised at what people do when it comes down to financially gaining money. Some people will sell their own goddamn souls. It's a paycheck. And you got Jewish people coming on Twitter. They're like, "Oh, black people are so fucking stupid. Don't they know we can't? We fucking had their backs in X, Y, and Z." But you can see the mask off, moments in the comments where they think that they own blacks. Every group fucking does this, where they sit there and they speak like as though they own somebody because they either done something or just because they have the right to do it. It's the weirdest shit. We've seen white women do this shit before when they sit there and they go, "Oh, you should be ashamed for your race because you're letting them down and I'm more black than you," or black people thinking that they have the right to do stupid shit just because they're black. It's the fucking craziest thing. Anyway, back to the crazy eyes.
Struggles, not the perceived struggles of the masculinity crisis or whatever it is, the actual struggles. And instead, we just kind of want to blame them for all of our problems.
Right. I think there's a lot of that that I just fully agree with. I mean, we just don't message to men, right? And I was like we don't message in a way that resonates to men. Something that you kind of responded to that I've seen a lot is, well, the reason why Republican messaging resonates with men is because men want bad things, right? So like
Yeah.
men want to have sex and like own women, right? Like they want to dominate everybody, and Republicans say you get to do that, and then Democrats can't say that. So we just lost.
One more thing, I'm so sorry. I hate to break it to you. Men don't want to dominate anybody. When it's only men in the area, shit gets done smoothly. A lot of the problems that you see in the workforce is because you have a lot of women, not normal women, but you got women that try to force their ways in and with the extra bullshit, and then you end up having problems. Real men, majority of men aren't trying to dominate nobody. That's your toxic fucking men. Those are what you would like to call your toxic masculinity type men. Men who are like that aren't men at all. This is why those type of men end up opting to become women and oppress women, actually oppress women, the ones that you guys help bring forward and protect. Crazy.
Minutes over, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
what are you talking about? Like, a lot of times it will be men that are liberals who will like agree with that shit. I'm like, dude, what are you like? What is going on? Like, there's a lot of men that don't think that way, obviously, and it's just such a negative view to take on like half of the human race.
Well, I also think it's just so abundantly clear that the people who say these things don't actually spend time talking to young men. You know this because we know each other in real life, but I spend a lot of time on college campuses, and I
He
spend a lot of time with
loves young men.
I love young men. I love frat guys, and in that I've realized like even the ones that I identify as conservative are almost always pro-choice. They're almost always pro-gay marriage. You'd be surprised at the number of them who supported Black Lives Matter. And so I feel like people just kind of lump them into this box when the truth is, again, a lot of them are with us on the issues.
No, you're doing it again. You're fucking sitting there and you're speaking for these people. A lot of men rather just put their fucking heads down. A lot of men aren't pro choice or not pro choice. They just don't give a shit unless it affects them. Like, again, most men. A lot of men aren't pro gay marriage and all of that shit. None of that shit matters to most men. And the whole BLM fucking thing, they just didn't want to get their heads taken fucking off because it was a Marxist movement that you guys supported. You probably forced them, probably sat there and said, "Do you support this? If you don't support this, we're gonna judge you." And so he probably sat there, most guys sat there and just went, "Fuck. What do I do? Do I sit here and I support this fucking thing that I don't care about? Or do I sit there and no longer have a girlfriend for the end of the fucking month? Or end of the year or some bullshit like this?"
they're just not part of our coalition because they feel like they're not welcomed in it.
They're not talked to, right? And
No.
yeah, they're not welcome. That's true. Like there's a lot of times where it's like being like masculine characteristics or seem like they're frowned upon and they're kind of welcomed and championed by the Republican Party. And like masculine characteristics are not characteristics that are intrinsically bad, right? Like and I think that some Democrats have presented it that way. Now, obviously not most Democrats, but it's like this perception that a lot of guys have had. And in terms of issues, like good messaging is messaging that resonates with people's actual anxieties and lived experience, right? And so, yeah, like the whatever podcast can resonate with men that are like incels or like struggling with women, right? Because a girl was mean to them or whatever, and they're able to project upon like those women which come on and like look really dumb. They're able to say like, yeah, all women are like this.
The whatever podcast, I don't think it's mostly incels. You're gonna find radicals in all groups. You're gonna find people who are just fucked up in all groups. You can save an incel. You can change an incel's view. One woman can change an incel's view. Look at what happened to iDubbbz. Um, a lot of people who watch the whatever podcast are not incels, but they are reinforcing their view that a lot of these girls that they need to see. Sometimes people need to have their face put into the shit to see that everything is not roses. A lot of these girls have these mindsets that they need to verify just to get it in their fucking heads because they're growing up, but they're not growing up, right? Mentally they're not growing up and these princesses as they call themselves, these perfect fucking girls is what the dating scene is right now. Now don't get me wrong, there's a lot that I don't agree with the whatever podcast. I definitely don't watch that fresh and fit bullshit with the two fucking tethers. But what do you think is going to happen when you have everything set up? I don't know. I'm gonna use the word systematic oppression of men, where you vilify fucking men consistently, and everything is in favor of women. What do you think is going to happen? And I'm not sitting there saying shaft women, destroy women, all of this other shit. But the only way it seems to uplift women, the only way it seems to fix men, it's to prop up women by fucking pushing guys down. This is something consistently that they do. So of course, young men or men in general, which is crazy because they're saying they want the young man's vote and not men. I hate to break it to you, men who are 40, men who are 50, men who are 30 are still viable because they're still the ones, they're still in the game. Of course they're gonna start watching shit like this. Of course they're gonna watch content like this instead of shit like this, because
I feel better about myself. But there's all these other things that resonate probably more, which is like, man, shit's expensive, right? Like, man, I don't feel supported, right? Like, I don't feel like there's anywhere for me to go, right? I feel like if something bad happens to me, no one's there to support me. That's the thing that a lot of men deal with because men are a lot of times kind of put in the box of supporting other people, so no one's there to support themselves.
Yep.
And it's like those are things that we can absolutely talk to. Actually, we could probably speak to better than the Republican Party.
if you guys could speak better than the Republican Party, you wouldn't have to have this little podcast. The Democrats wouldn't have this fucking problem right now. In fact, the saddest thing about it is that if you guys was as good at fucking gaslighting as you guys think that you guys are, being the moral superior types that you guys are, the moral superior beings that you are, you would still have men voting for you guys. But a lot of men's been woken up to the bullshit. Either they don't vote or they vote for the right. Not mostly for the right, but one side is sitting there completely shitting on them. The other side is sitting there saying, look, we're gonna somewhat look out for you guys. Which side do you think is eventually gonna start leaning towards one way?
Yeah, I think speaking to that is also understanding the mentality that they're coming from too. So another example is when you look at the polling of what are the issues that are the most important to young men, one of the top issues consistently is immigration. If you actually talk to a young guy about how he feels about immigration, am I allowed to cuss on this?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about immigration. It's this idea of scarcity and competition of if you're a young man in America, you are expected to go to college or go to a trade school, get a certification, get a degree. Then you're expected to get a high paying job. And then once you get your high paying job, you're expected to find your wife and to buy a house and to have kids and to do all of these things. And if you don't do that, then you're a failure because you are the man and you are the provider. And if you can't provide, then you're not actually a man. And so we set the Republicans specifically, they set this expectation and then they make it almost impossible for young men to actually do those things, whether it's through not raising minimum wage, whether it's through the price of tuition going up, all these different things.
So it's solely on the Republican hands for why American. I'm gonna speak solely on Americans, but I'm pretty sure you can put this to whatever group you, whatever continent you want to put it to. It's not raising minimum wage that will fix this. And that's not true that men don't care about immigration. Yeah, for the most part, they probably don't care about it until they start seeing it. Declining birth rates, the whole fact that the dating pool is completely fucked because you've been sitting there lying to these fucking women with feminism and Marxism and all of this other bullshit. When you got good guys who can't get ahead, who's getting passed over, who's watching women pick, say, for example, men who are coming into the country. And the saddest thing about it is, and they're, it's not, it's not men who are immigrants or whatever like this, but when they're seeing, for example, immigrants being much more successful because they don't need to have an education and they're still having children, big families, in fact. Right? When you see that they're not only having children, big families, but they're being allowed, and I'm not speaking about America in this case, I hope not, but let's say in England, when you got these fucking girls being groomed, eventually, yeah, they're gonna start looking at immigration as a fucking problem because even though it is not the root cause of it, it fucking helps, right? It's a big portion when you got all of these fucking illegals or immigrants who don't belong. I wouldn't say immigrants. I think immigrants are fine as long as it's managed properly, which it should be, and it's for the most part it is. But when you got a bunch of fucking illegals, a bunch of parasites in your fucking country, legal or not, who don't want to actually contribute to your society, don't want to contribute to the land which where you call home, but then they claim your land, what do you think is going to happen to the men? Of course they're going to be upset about this. It's not Republicans' fault solely. It's I don't know. Well, I don't want to say it's Republicans' fault. And this is funny that they're doing it. They're framing it as it's Republicans' fault because they're sitting there saying that this is the way you should be doing things. Maybe that's like the black the blackboard of which they what they think is right, and most men do feel that way. But again, you guys have done absolutely fucking nothing to help that because all you guys have done is empowered women, falsely empowered women, and ruin shit. And raising the prices of minimum wage doesn't fucking fix that. We need to stabilize prices and we need to drop prices. We need to drop prices on housing. We need to get rid of a bunch of fucking illegals and free up housing. We need actual crime reform across the nation. And I'm speaking about America. I'm pretty sure, again, you can put this anywhere. We need harsher crime sentencing. We need to stop pretending that all criminals can be redeemed. And if they can be redeemed, let them still serve hard fucking time before we sit there going, I want to hear your redemption story. And they go around raping grandma or stabbing up some fucking body. Or in all of these fucking mental cases, we need to get them off the street too. Listen, make families great again. Make being a dad, make being a mom great again. Stop all of this bullshit.
Things. And so what ends up happening is you have these young guys who they're working every single day. They're working on oil rigs. They're working at Amazon warehouses. Maybe they work a 9 to 5 job. They're working every single day, and they're still not getting ahead. So then we force young men to make this decision of either you can blame yourself or you can blame others. And if you're a young guy and you're working 8 to 12 hours a day, if you're paying all your bills, you're doing everything you can, and you're still not getting ahead, why do we expect them to think that they're the problem? They're doing everything that they've been told to do their entire life. And so that kind of little nagging, insecure voice in the back of the head, that's where Republicans really push through that ideology and get to young men, is because then they can convince them, well, this is the person whose fault it is. It's not your fault that you can't get ahead in America. It's the immigrants who are coming here. It's their fault because they're taking your high-paying jobs.
Right.
Whatever, man. I ain't gonna even comment on that shit.
And this hits on something that's so true. It's not that people are intrinsically prejudiced against immigrants. I mean, certainly some people are, but most people are not. The critical mass of Americans that say they care about immigration are not. It's that Republicans have made immigration an economic issue. They've made it an everything issue. I mean, they point to immigrants and they say, these are the people that are taking away your livelihood, the safety of your family, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And like, that's a lie. It's a vicious lie, but it's a lie that you can perhaps understand people believing if they have no other explanations offered to them. And I think there's something else about this that's really insightful. It's men are looking for an explanation about why things kind of suck in their lives, right? And so if you look at a lot of the content that men like watch, well, some of it's, this right-wing content. A lot of it's like self-help stuff, right? Like, who's the most into self-help? It's men. And what does the self-help say? It's your mind. It's your thought process. That's the reason why things suck, right? And it's not that people are even always eager to blame someone else. They're just
Fuck.
which probably the statistics themselves.
Yep. What are the issues that are the most important to young men? They're still not getting ahead. Convince them, well, this is the person whose fault it is.
Or not. It's that Republicans have made immigrant, and like, that's a lie. It's a vicious lie, but it's a lie that you can perhaps understand people believing if they have no other explanations offered to them. And I think there's something else about this that's really insightful. It's men are looking for an explanation about why things kind of suck in their lives, right? And so if you look at a lot of the content that men like watch, well, some of it's, this right-wing content. A lot of it's like self-help stuff, right? Like, who's the most into self-help? It's men. And what does the self-help say? It's your mind. It's your thought process. That's the reason why things suck, right? And it's not that people are even always eager to blame someone else. They're just eager to have an explanation, a solution to the suffering they're facing in their lives.
I had a really in-depth conversation a few weeks ago with some other content creators where I was talking about the messaging that the Democratic Party uses so often. And we talk about the, diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI. And I think where we've kind of fallen into this trap is we have made the party exclusive by trying to make it inclusive. And what I mean by that is every room we walk into, the messaging that we're using is different. Every single one of them. And I think that that's the wrong way to go about it. I think we should have one specific, this is the message we use on this issue. Because people are going to interpret that message however they want to interpret it. Everyone has their own form of cultural competency. So, and I think what Trump in particular is they kind of just say the same thing over and over again. And then if they ever change their opinion on it, they just say it with so much confidence that it's hard to convince people that that's not what they meant. So for us, I think it's just, we should just be saying the same thing about the same issue over and over and over again, and let the voters decide what it means through their own cultural lens instead of.
So just like right now, throughout this entire goddamn little thing that you guys have been doing, you guys have not properly reflected on what the problem is with the left, and everything has been solely put on Republican shoulders. Everything that you guys literally just said for the last 10 minutes, 7 minutes, 8 minutes, it's all Republicans, and everything that's wrong is that they're listening to bad people, and we need to manipulate them and make them do exactly what we want to do, but we pretend that we care, but we're still going to force them to do exactly what we want without listening. Is that it right there? Man, I mean, all right, we're going to continue doing exactly what we've been doing. Let's just throw more money at it, sure.
And let the voters decide what it means through their own cultural lens instead of telling them specifically what we mean every single time.
Right. The issue with pandering is it looks like you're pandering.
Yeah.
You don't seem genuine whenever you're saying something different in two different rooms with different demographics in them. Even if you are being genuine, but sometimes it's just not, right? Like the Kamala Harris's agenda for black men. I don't think that really went anywhere because it just seems so kind of contrived. It seems so like.
Well, it was just so, and this is the same thing. It's the same thing that Hillary Clinton did, where it's Bill, like, you'll have people on the right throw out these claims of, like, well, what are you doing for this group? And we'll have these long-winded, like, explanations with these details and these figures, and then we can go out and talk about it so we're blue in the face, but at that point, the conversation's already moved on. Because
It's because Kamala Harris and Hillary Clinton are fake. And a lot of men, majority of men, once they suss out that somebody's fucking fake, support's gonna drop. Hate to break it to you, most women are fucking followers. It's in their genetics, it's in their DNA. Once they see men ain't with that shit, again, they could have all the power in the world. They can sit there and be like, who run the world, girls? But at the end of the day, they can't stay away from men. They get upset because they can't control men the exact way that they want, unless they're completely OnlyFans out, the whores, and then they pretend that they have power. But at the end of the day, women are always going to follow men. That's just how it is. Even if men wanted to remove themselves from the equation, women will follow them, force themselves in their spaces. Women don't want weak women, especially women that they know are just like them in power. Most women didn't like, even though most women voted for Kamala Harris, majority of women didn't like Kamala Harris's whole stance. But they'll follow them because they're women. But she lost a lot of support with women too, because women sat there and was like, she fake. How do you know she's fake? Because the guy I like knows she's fake. And my politics is whoever dicks me down the best.
Because they didn't actually care about the answer, they cared about how they felt about the answer. And so I feel like we just get into these specifics so frequently that frankly, like, people just don't care about.
But we need simple ideas that you articulate all the time, right? It's like, for instance, build more housing, right? And somebody says, well, how does that benefit this group? It's like, well, do you live in housing? Like, there's some big economic issues that hit everybody. Affordability is one of the most central ones. And that's something that we should champion. And the good news is it helps everyone, right?
No. How about get motherfuckers who don't belong on your land out of your land? If you got people coming into your land that don't support the land they're on, they can go back to the land that they support. We could start there. How about getting criminals off of the street? Repeating offenders, career criminals. We can start there instead of releasing them a day later, a week later, back into the masses to continue doing their bullshit. How about we actually take care of mentally ill people and see if we can rehabilitate them or put them away in a padded cell and with checks and balances so we don't up and end and be negligible and end up hurting these fucking people or taking advantage of them or some bullshit like this. Again, we need to go back 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 15 years ago, where when someone did a crime, they knew, oh shit, this is going to be bad. I'm going away for a long fucking time. And they went away for a long fucking time. And every group benefits. Every group. Black, white, Chinese, every group fucking benefits. Instead of playing all of this other bullshit, instead of sitting there trying to manipulate people and continue the status quo like what these guys are doing right now, but they want their vote, but they're, again, we're the problems that they perceive are problems compared to what we know are the problems. And you want their vote and you talk like this about them?
It's not just good policy all the time, but it's also like we don't need to have different messages for different groups, in large part because there isn't different policy solutions for different groups. Like targeted policies are usually ones that are kind of watered down, right? They're kind of less, like increasing funding for specific grant programs for certain races of businesses. I mean, that's great and all, and we've had that for a long time. But that's not going to fix the big economic inequality and opportunity issues we have in this country. The only thing that could do that is dramatic investments, is a huge expansion of the social support system, et cetera, et cetera. And that's the kind of stuff that we should probably focus on talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You look at things like, the healthcare plan or, the homeowners, like first time loans up to this amount or this percentage. I need Democrats to start talking like, well, what's your health care policy? My health care policy is healthcare should be good and cheap.
Right. Because Trump does. He doesn't explain like I'm going to do price transparency, like a price statute, and I'm going to expand the premium tax credit, whatever. Like
no.
Republicans never say the word tax credit. Why do we say the word tax credit all the time?
I think it's because like we're still operating in this like fallout of Reagan, Bill Clinton mentality. But the difference is that most Democrats don't have the charisma that Bill Clinton had. And so instead of leaning on the charisma, they lean on the details. And I just don't think it translates the same way. We just come off as a bunch of dorks. Like that's just the truth. We just come off as a bunch of dorks. Nobody wants to listen to a dork.
I think voters like people they think are smart, but they don't like people that they don't understand, right? They want to feel like they understand what you're saying and it's smart, not just like, I don't understand what they're saying, therefore they're smart, right? And they also like simple solutions, right? Like we don't need to talk about each detail of each healthcare policy. We can just say, like you said, what we're going to do, right? And you can tell people the basic details about how you're going to do it. But you don't need to really get in the weeds. And you also don't need to talk about 20 things at once. I think that's part of the issue with the Democratic coalition. The Republican coalition is like, we want border security, tax cuts, whatever. There's like 5 things that they actually care about. And then there's minor things.
I'm sorry.
Right? And you can tell people the basic details about how you're going to do it. But you don't need to really get in the weeds. And you also don't need to talk about 20 things at once. I think that's part of the issue with the Democratic coalition. The Republican coalition is like, we want border security.
The Democrat coalition, we want border security. I hate listening to people who think that they're more intelligent than the average Joe and they're sitting there fucking lying. The Democrat Party doesn't give a shit about border security. They may act like they care about border security when it comes down to elections to make sure that they keep their seats. These politicians, they were all for immigration by any means necessary, even illegal immigration. Once they're in your country, they here. The fact of the matter that this guy said the Democratic coalition, we talk about the things that they care about, and the first thing he said out of his mouth was border security. That says everything that you should know about this fucking video, dog. This shit is crazy.
Right? And you can tell people the basic details about how you're going to do it. But you don't need to really get.
They don't even, you know what's crazy? The Democrats don't even believe that we should have borders. They don't even believe in protecting their borders. What the fuck? Now, don't get me wrong. Not all Democrats. Understand when I say this. The Democrat, yo, that shit is insane, dog. All right.
In the weeds. And you also don't need to talk about 20 things at once. I think that's part of the issue with the Democratic coalition. The Republican coalition is like, we want border security, tax cuts, whatever. There's like 5 things that they actually care about. And then there's minor things. And for the Democrats, it's like, well, we're really diverse, actually. We want a lot of different things. But we.
The Democratic Party is not diverse. They can have a lot of people who look different, but they are forced. What is it? It's diversity of appearance and whatever, but not diversity of the mind. Because the second you step out of lockstep with the Democrats, they eat their own. I mean, the right does it too, but damn, the left, whoo.
We need to learn to prioritize because not every issue deserves to be brought into the spotlight just for any reason. Whenever you go to a door as a Democrat and you knock on the door to talk to a voter about.
I tell them, get the fuck away from me. I'm being honest. In fact, whenever some Democrat senator pops up or talk about I'm a Democratic nationalist and this is who's coming, I literally laugh in their face. I get the fucking, I'll be a person who hasn't laughed in an entire fucking week. And the second that they come on my door talking that bullshit, I'd be like, oh, and I just start fucking laughing.
The things that your party supports, they should already know what those things are. If they don't, that means that you're not doing a good job messaging. If you go to.
Dog, stop fucking zooming in thinking that you have like these great fucking. I feel like as though this guy's saying shit that's like talking points. Or not talking points, but like. It's so weird because he's saying one thing and then he's immediately flipping back to the other thing. And I wonder if these things that he's zooming in on are like things that he knew, okay, when we get to this part, I'm going to say this and this sounds really good. Let me zoom in a little bit. Shit is goofy.
Somebody, you ask them, what does Trump support? They're going to be able to list at least 2 things, probably. They can't list anything for Kamala Harris. $30,000 home buyer tax credit, whatever, whatever, whatever. No, there's 0% chance they could list anything because there's just so many ideas and they're all so contrived.
No, it wasn't that there was so many ideas with Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris didn't stand for fucking anything. Kamala Harris was fake. She would sit there. At some point, she tried to sit there and adopt the same exact shit Donald Trump was doing because she realized if she said the shit that she normally supported, because she was the most fucking Marxist politician that we've ever had running for president ever, right? If Kamala Harris had said the shit that she normally would say in public, because the saddest thing is, all the evidence was fucking there, but people don't look at that shit. Most men don't look at shit like this. Most women will vote for somebody and not know what the fuck they're voting for. Just like when they voted for Joe Biden, and then they sat there, oh my god, I didn't know he was this fucking bad. Kamala Harris didn't stand for shit. She would say something and then flip flop. And Trump's done it too, but she would say something and immediately flip flop to the status quo. And so they had to sit there and she was literally just saying anything that sounded fucking good or just not saying anything at all. And they was hoping that as long as you can sit there and keep saying Orange Man bad, they can push her forward. She was the one of the weakest candidates in our lifetimes we ever fucking seen.
Well, no, that's not true. They'll say that she supports sex changes for transgender illegal aliens in prison.
A very
I mean, yeah,
a center of her platform, yes.
it was a central part of her platform. Yeah, I mean, it's just the same thing over and over again. It's kind of like, guys, what are we doing here? I think of it as America or voters in general when they're deciding who they want to vote for. They want a mom and they want a dad. Not to be homophobic, because there can be, same-sex parents here. They want to.
And you lost us again. And you lost us. And you lost us. Listen, you want to know some real shit? Men would vote for a fucking gay dude in a heartbeat if the gay guy was fucking based. If the gay guy was saying shit that resonated with them and he kept it 100, even black dudes would fucking vote for them. Real recognizes real, and that's the problem with men right now. They want something that's real. They want a voice that is speaking about current shit the way that it is. We're tired of being coddled. That shit works with fucking women and limp wrist men like the guy that you have on your other thing with his talking points, zooming in like whatever, whenever he says a random thing out of the blue, like he's being authentic. Men want authentic. They want the genuine thing. It doesn't matter who says it as long as they keep it a buck. You weren't beating Trump. You weren't, unless you cheated again, you weren't beating Trump. Now, coming this next election, right? Coming forward, if you guys are still bullshitting these men, they're not going to vote for you. They're going to continue to not vote for you. You can get the women, you can pull at their emotional heartstrings all you want. Women are going to be women. But even a lot of women are not falling for the shit anymore. Like I said, a lot of them will follow men. Again, their politics is whoever dicks them down the best. It is what it is.
Mom and a dad. They want someone who, in times of uncertainty, can bring them comfort and can make them feel like there's someone there for them. And then they also want someone who's going to be stern, who's going to have their back, and who's going to say the tough things that need to be said. And I feel like we try to offer voters comfort, but instead of coming across as like mom or dad, we kind of come across as like the aunt who you kind of don't like her, but she gets you really good Christmas presents. So like every once in a while you'll go visit. Like I feel like that's kind of how we come across as like, well, I don't really trust the Democrats and I don't really like them that much, but the Affordable Care Act was cool. And like that's kind of the extent of it. Is how people feel about us most of the time.
Well, yeah. Well, that's the family theory of partisan politics in the United States.
That was fucking horrible. I'm sorry, that was fucking horrible, dog. Oops, typo. Not a Dem, never will be, but I'm increasingly disgusted with the Republican Party in every respect, but in particular how it's wooing young men. Wooing young men. So I have to commend you for both an excellent and enlightened conversation that I believe really gets to the heart of what the Democrat Party gets wrong in its messaging to young men, but also provides a ton of insight into what the GOP is doing wrong too. Of course, I wish someone would offer a third option, one no one is talking about, economic liberty. But if people want to hear a conversation full of absolute observations about the reality young men face right now, I hope they take the time to listen to this. Economic liberty is the opposite of a centrally planned economy, the opposite of you must bake the cake, the opposite of progressive tax, the opposite of we control production via environmental regulations. So I wouldn't hold your breath on the Dems coming around. Take the John Gate pick off your bio, retarded white woman communist. Well, I mean, she's Jewish, but Jewish people are white. Stop the cap. Let's listen. I'm sorry. Let me listen to a middle aged Jewish woman about what a young men want. You are applauding the disciples of communism and then suggest economic liberty to the very party that chairs on redistribution of wealth, taxing any success and keeping people poor through regulation. How droll. At first, I thought this was satire. Then I read it again, and I think you actually believe this. No one is in more. I'm sorry. No one is more in touch with young men than an elderly Jewish lady, an obese trans, and a homosexual. What is your objection to how? I'm sorry. What is your objection to how it's wooing young men? Let me make this a little bigger. What is your objection to how it's wooing young men by telling them they're worthy and valued and deserve a country that works for them and give them opportunities? You said a lot of words, but didn't really say nothing at all. Neither you nor this cow speak for men. None of this makes any sense. Young men find women like you to be repulsive and retarded. This is going to backfire horrendously. And this is the person talking. Talk about she loves frat boys. Of course. All right. They always talk about how to get young men to listen. They never talk about how to listen to young men. So close, yet both of you completely missed the mark. You see the problems, but completely get it wrong and why they are the problems and how to solve them. Keep this energy up, however. It makes it easier to win in 2028. Better than most Dems, but still not there. I see Dems as a group that use identity as a way to decide whether to help or hinder. If you're black and trans, cash support laud. If you're white and male, first and foremost, black people are not getting fucking cash. They're getting handouts, but they're not getting fucking cash. They're not getting the same they're not getting opportunities that you guys probably think that they are. Now in other countries, you probably think that black people are getting ahead of these African migrants that pop up in these fucking jobs where they're working jobs where they don't belong and shit. Well then again, I could be fucking wrong. I mean, I did just get a fucking DoorDash order and the DoorDash order guy called me and when I answered my phone, he barely spoke a lick of fucking English and I was actually gonna post it to X. The man barely spoke a lick of English, and when I said, "I'm sorry, I don't understand you. Can you speak clearly?" He said, "What do you want?" And I was like, "What do you mean, what I want? You called me," and he hung up on me, and I'm just like, and I'm supposed to tip this person. So yeah, I'm sure they do identify and they help out because I don't think a person who is even trying the bare minimum to communicate with somebody and is rude and X, Y, and Z should be doing any type of work in any place that's supposed to be a melting pot. That's just the truth. Especially you don't deserve a fucking tip. So I guess you probably see it as black people are getting all these opportunities. DEI, the thing that these lefties support, don't benefit blacks. I mean, you'll get some blacks here and there because they got to do it. It benefits white women. White women are the sole majority beneficiaries to DEI. Good example of how leftists ping pong in between not understanding men and actively opposing them at a fundamental level. Men don't want inclusion or acceptance. They want responsibility they actually benefit from. Men and women aren't the same. And that's absolutely true. So about they want a mom and a dad that can make them feel safe, but also somebody who says the harsh things. I don't want a mom or a dad to be president or fucking be the party. That's so weird. More whining about how I'm sorry, more whining about how white men feel God when black people make the same complaints in general. We're told we're acting like victims. Whether the Neither of these individuals look like they are disciplined in life or take personal accountability for their actions. Get fit, build a strong family, and do something difficult at an extremely high level. Only then will men truly listen to what you have to say. So take what men say, tell them that it's not what they really mean, then correct them. When this never worked on me as a woman, I don't think it will work on men either because they're also human. But carry on. Is this a joke about who is qualified to advise on what would win back young men? Again, there's your fucking problem. You're trying to win back young men. Young men don't give a shit. But for you to get young men, you gotta win all men. You're targeting a fucking group that right. Okay, I'll keep it a buck with you. Young men right now, which young men are you going for? If you're going for blacks, it's not going to happen until a couple of more years, and they're already still swinging right. They're not hearing the bullshit. If you're going for whites, whites are becoming more extreme. And at the moment, right now, the funniest thing is, I don't even think the right has young white men at this point. You're more likely to run into these fucking groypers or white nationalists at this fucking point than you are young white men who just you know what I'm saying? It's so again, this video is fucking weird, dog. But again, if you want to win the voters, you can't just pick and peck certain small individual groups. But this is what they do. I'm suddenly reassured the Dems are going to go off. I'm sorry, I am suddenly reassured the Dems are going the way of the dodo. The left is stuck because they don't want to represent the voter. They want to tell the voter what's best for them. It is by definition elitist. Real men protect women, and that means allowing women to kill their unborn offspring, half of which are women. I'll keep it a buck with you on that one. A lot of men don't care about abortion, but the young men who have their eyes open to the fact that maybe they wanted a child and the girl decided on a whim that she wants to destroy this man emotionally or scar him for the rest of his life. Yeah, the funniest thing is, I don't know if the basketball player name is Damon Green or whatever fuck like this. He had a baby with some fucking girl who was like a career stripper who dips and dabbles with a bunch of like high profile NBA players. And she tried to basically scam him when he said he didn't want to have the child or whatever like that. He told her that. I believe he even bought her Plan B, and she still had the fucking child. And now that he doesn't want to be in this child's life, and he said he didn't want to be in this child's life before she even had the child, and she realizes he's not fucking playing this game. Now, 100%, there's a good chance that if he wanted to have that child, I mean, she wanted to have the child because she wanted to secure the bag. But let's say if she was younger, if she wanted to abort that child, if he wanted that child, but now that he doesn't want to have that child, in this reality, not the alternative reality I just made, now she wants to just hound him and be in his fucking life. Even though realistically, she doesn't give a shit about that boy. She just wants to be in power in any ways possible. And in this sense, it would be the fact that it matter that she can't get what she want out of him. Gotta tell you the truth. She won't be achieving that. She won't help in achieving that. You guys definitely have figured it out. Whatever this is, please do more of it. Also, make sure you keep having feminine, mean-spirited atheists debating all the time on the debate channels. That is also going very well. Victory is within your grasp. Oh shit, there it is. Listen, as a skeptic, a person who's not religious, I personally feel like I'm in the best position to not be a person who feels like I'm the morality police, like the people on the left, or have fake empathy like the people on the right. A perfect example of this would be the trans person who jumped off of some fucking bridge recently. And you got a bunch of conservatives sitting there, and I've seen a lot of them, and they said, "Oh, this is terrible. They could have been saved," and they're just, doing the typical zealot shit. And then you got people on the left saying, "Oh, you people are fucking horrible," when it's your side that gave them the platform, that pushed them and said it was okay to do this thing, and basically guided them along the ways of killing themselves. Both sides are bad. Both sides are bad. So luckily for me, because I feel like as though because I'm not a religious bigot, and not all religious people are bigots, but because I'm not a religious bigot that I need to pretend to care, or because I'm not a leftist fucking nut job that I gotta sit there and do horrible things, do bad things, have bad things done and then play crybaby, I can see things a little bit more clearly. I hate to break it to you, not everybody's religious. So I mean, it is what it is. No actual man is gonna suffer through 10 minutes of that drivel. God damn it, I suffered through. This is a damn near hour-long video. God damn. Anyway, guys, that's the video. I hope they fail. I know they're gonna fail. There isn't no way this is real. No fucking way. I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.